We are in March 2021, and a few weeks ago we published the iOS XR version 7.3.1. Like we did for the previous major release, 7.2.1, we asked some of our colleagues to provide a quick update on the software innovations introduced with this new version, and also a presentation of the newly supported products coming in the NCS 5500 portfolio. Today we start the series with Jakub, presenting the SRv6 features, and in the next coming days we will continue with EVPN, multicast, segment routing and PLS, QoS, security and optics. Also, we will introduce a new high-capacity power supply, the V2 fabric and fan trays for the 4-slot chassis, 2 new line cards, and also our first Jericho 2-based fixed systems. You will find the links to these other presentations in the description below, but also in a dedicated xrdocs.io article. Let's start first with Jakub and SRv6.
Hello! iOS XR 7.3.1 is third major release for SRv6, after 6.6.1 and 7.0.2. It introduces SRv6 microSID, the major leap in SRv6 technology. Here, we will introduce important SRv6 features in 7.3.1. Throughout this short presentation, we will show the basic mechanics of SRv6 microSID. We will show how SRv6 information is propagated in an IGP domain using ISIS protocol, then how SRv6 is used to create SRv6 for IPv4 and IPv6 overlays. In 7.3.1, we are adding a full set of features to create an end-to-end SP network with TI-LFA for fast convergence and flexible algorithm for latency-aware routing using performance measurement. One of the key values of SRv6 is overall simplicity. Hence, during the following 20 minutes, we will build a full SRv6 network with ISIS, SRv6, TI-LFA, and flexible algorithms to demonstrate the simplicity of SRv6. First of all, SRv6 microSID introduced in 7.3.1 is a very integral part of SRv6. It is not any different technology at all. It is an improvement in terms of MTU efficiency and legacy hardware support. In SRv6, each network instruction is stored in a SID. SID is always 128 bits, but in most real-life scenarios, all SIDs are coming from a single SP network. And as such, all SIDs are similar and only a few bits are different. So this can be obviously optimized. Hence, we put those important bits into micro-instruction called microSID. Here, it is, for simplicity, 16 bits, but it can be any size. And then we put several micro-instructions into the carrier, which is 128 bits. And the beginning of the carrier, we always put SRv6 microSID block, 32 bits here, but again, in general, it can be any size. For 7.3.1, the implementation is exactly 32 bits carrier, 32 bits the prefix, and 16 bits SIDs. And that's it. Then each node has a locator with the microSID block and router ID, and that locator is being advertised by IGP protocol, and anyone in the network has full reachability to any function instantiated on the router. Here is a forwarding example. The source will create a carrier with 5 micro-instructions and a common SRv6 microSID block. The packet is then routed towards router 1 based on the locator advertisement. Router 1 then will do what we call shift and forward, which is shift all micro-instructions by 16 bits and forward packet based on the new destination address, which is 2001 DB8200. Then the packet is routed towards router 2. Routers between 1 and 2 do not need to understand SRv6 at all. They do just simple IPv6 routing. Then router 2 performs again just shift and forward, and the packet with a new destination goes to router 3. Shift and forward again, and router 4 sees 16 bits of 0 behind this router ID, which means end of the carrier. So packet is either destined to this router, or maybe there is an SRh, and in that SRh there is either SID or another SID carrier. In that case, router just decrements segments left counter in SRh and copies new carrier into destination address field and forward accordingly. The super important value of SRv6 is ultimate simplicity. Objective of this presentation is to introduce SRv6 features in 7.3.1, and as we said, we will use them to build a full SRv6 microSID based network. So in our lab, we have 5 physical routers without any configuration except management board, hostname, hardware profile, and SSH. So let's try to do the configuration. So here we have all 5 routers. Well, each tab means one router, and we will use the nice iTerm feature to configure all of them together. So we will see only router 1, but basically the same configuration, just with the few different parameters, well, with basically one different parameter, is happening on the all routers. So here we will configure both interfaces, unshut them. We will enable IPv6, so we will keep just the link local address there. Next step, we need to enable locator on all routers. So here we will configure locator. Each locator has different the prefix, and we have to define there is a microsegment behavior for this locator. The next step is IGP configuration. In 7.3.1, we have SRv6 microSID support in ISIS. IGP protocol advertises SRv6 functions, UN and UA, but most important is advertisement of the locator itself. That allows other routers to forward the packet to all functions instantiated on the router. So our configuration step is to enable ISIS on all routers and tell the router which locator to use. So let's do the configuration. Router ISIS, we will use just level 1, network, address family IPv6 unicast, wide metric, and segment routing SRv6, and select the locator. Then interfaces, first interface, and the second interface. That's it. So next step is overlay SRv6. So we need to use BGP protocol. In BGP protocol, we do advertise the UDT function. The function is dynamically assigned from selected locator. Then all prefixes within the VRF are advertised with that function. Then all other routers will use that function as a destination IPv6 address for SRv6 encapsulation. Encapsulated packet is then forwarded within the network based on the locator reachability. Configuration is again very simple. This is just as any other SRv6 configuration, we only add the locator information there. So VRF, IPv4 unicast for this one, just route target. We will create the loopback 101, add it into the VRF, and each router will have different loopback 101 IPv4 address. Obviously, we need to create the BGP configuration as well. For BGP, we need the additional loopback to establish BGP session, loopback 0, router ID, address family VPN v4 unicast, and we will prepare VPN v6 unicast for later configuration. We will create neighbor group, just the basic configuration, and we will add all the neighbors to the neighbor group to make sure there is a full reachability everywhere. And the last one, and then VRF specific configuration. So IPv4 unicast, and we will only redistribute connected. Here we are defining the locator for the SRv6 where the function is gonna be taken. We can verify the routing table in a VRF. So we can see all the prefixes from each router on this router 1, and we can check the ceph for the particular prefix, for example, from router 3. And here we can see how it is encapsulated, or what is basically encapsulation address for that particular prefix. Other important feature in 731 are TI-LFA and microloop avoidance. TI-LFA means topology independent loop-free alternate. It uses segment routing information advertised in ISIS, those functions UN and UA, to pre-program backup path in the hardware before failure. And then once link fails, and it's detected by router, the router can very quickly switch to pre-program backup path with a minimal outage. That outage is guaranteed to be under 50 milliseconds, but on most platforms it is much faster. A complementary feature to TI-LFA is microloop avoidance. Once there is any change in the network, there is no way to make sure that routers converge at the same time. Some routers converge faster, some later, but in IGP, each router knows what is pre-convergence topology and what is post-convergence topology. Using that information and segment routing, each router can install SR-enabled path for predefined delay to provide some additional time to other routers to converge. Then in practice, there are no microloops and packets are not being dropped. So here we will just enable TI-LFA and microloop avoidance on all routers. So router ISIS is responsible for all the calculation. First, we will do the global configuration of microloop avoidance, and then on each interface we will configure TI-LFA. Second interface. Okay, it's configured, and right now we should have the backup path, and let's check backup path, for example, to the router 2. Here we can see the primary path over 10 gigabit 0000 and the backup path TI-LFA via interface 10 gigabit 0001 with the repair node and the appropriate encapsulation. PM is basically on a Cisco routers for a while already, but in 731 we are bringing support for IPv6 link local addressing. That again simplifies overall configuration. Main objective of performance measurement is to measure latency on every single link in the network. It is measured by probes using TWAMP Lite protocol, and that information can be either streamed using telemetry or can be used by IGP protocol as an additional metric. In our case, all devices in the network support hardware timestamping, and we will configure performance measurement on all interfaces. Performance measurement, interface 10 gigabit 000 and 10 gigabit 0001. So now we are measuring latency on every single interface in the network. Well, what to do with that? And we will use it in a flexible algorithm. A flexible algorithm is essentially support for different virtual topologies inside a single IGP protocol. For the logical topology, you can decide for each router whether it belongs it or not. You can include or exclude individual links in the network, and you can select an appropriate metric, either IGP or latency metric. In SRv6, you need to assign different locator to different algorithms. So in our simple network, we will create additional locators. Segment routing, new locator named latency, again microsegment, and the particular prefix, just different than the previous one, and the algorithm. This locator has to be advertised by IGP, and we have to define that in IGP, so latency metric, and again advertise that specific locator. But there is no overlay traffic to use it. So we will create another VPN, VPN2, and that VPN can be IPv6 only in our case. So here there is a VRF2. We will just do IPv6 for this particular VRF, and we will add additional loopback and IPv6 only, just to show something different. Once we have the loopback, we can create BGP configuration for that VRF. So BGP VRF2, address family v6 unicast, and again redistribute connected only, segment routing, and right now we have to select the latency locator. And commit. We can see all VPN2 prefixes from all the routers, and what we can see is ping between 1 and 3 in a VRF1, and the same thing we can do in a VRF2. Here we can see the latency in a VRF1 between 1 and 2 is much higher than the latency between 1 and 3 in a VRF2. That's all for today. We have managed to build the whole SRv6 network using new SRv6 microSID features introduced in 7.3.1. We have done full IGP configuration using ISIS, including flexible algorithm, TI-LFA, and microloop avoidance. Then we created layer 3 VPNs. The first one was VPN v4 using IGP metric, and the second one was VPN v6 using latency metric. The latency metric is dynamically measured by performance measurement on all interfaces in the network and used in a flexible algorithm. These features we can use not just for VPNs, but also for global routing table. Thank you very much for watching this SRv6 microSID introduction in 7.3.1, and I'm already looking forward to showing you some traffic engineering and layer 2 VPNs which will be introduced in 7.3.2. The best source for any segment routing information is always segment-routing.net. Goodbye.